Hola, Cosmolinos and Cosmolinettes. Welcome to the Shark Tank.
We were after the most dangerous fish in the ocean. The big fish.
Now, you had a question.
Yeah. Are there any sharks around here?
It's the Shark Tank Radio Show!
Cozumel, Cozumel, Cozumel Radio.
Yeah, it's a little bit campy, I know. What can I say? Hola, tankers. Welcome to the Shark Tank. Sharky here, and hey, this is our first attempt at doing a talk show version of the Shark Tank Radio Show, and we're gonna do this sort of thing from now on for a little while until we can get things back rolling with the regular radio station. And believe me, my goal is to eventually get this thing back up and running the way it was and make it bigger and better and badder than it ever was. So yeah, we're working on all that, but for now we're gonna do these little episodes of just a little talk show, little interview things every now and then. We're gonna get together with some people on the island and get their opinions and things on what's going on down there. But on this very first show, we're gonna get into what it'd be like to if you're looking for a new dive op on Cozumel, or if you're your first time coming down to Cozumel and you want to get a dive op. So we're going to take a look at that. We did an informal survey on scuba board and asked two questions. First, we asked you what's your dive op and why do you use them, and then we asked when you look for a dive op, what's the criteria you look for? And I opened it up also to some of our local dive operators to give us a little information and a little insight on what their thoughts are and that sort of thing. So we're going to get into all that. But first, as always, it's the dive report on the Shark Tank.
Hi, this is Lori from Grand Prairie, Texas, and you're listening to the Shark Tank Dive Report on CosmelRadio.net.
Hola, everybody. It's Sharky, and it is the dive report for late January 2014. And yeah, man, we had a couple Nortes blow through a week or so ago, which kind of lowered the temperatures a little bit, but didn't interrupt diving too bad. Now the temperatures are back up. The sun's out. It is beautiful. Get down to Cozumel immediately. It is still eagle ray season, so get up there to Barracuda, see the eagle rays. It's black tip season, so get down to the lower reefs and go see some black tips. And like I said, water temps are around upper 70s to 80 degrees. Visibility is still around 100 feet, and it is beautiful. Come down to Cozumel and do some diving. This is Sharky with the Dive Report. Cozumel Radio and the Shark Tank are huge supporters of the Humane Society of Cozumel. If you haven't noticed, it's my pet project, if you will, pun intended. Right now, they have a whole lot of wonderful dogs and cats that desperately need forever homes. The shelter takes mighty good care of all these animals, but living in a shelter is not the way to go. You really need a home of your very own and a loving family to take care of you if you're a pet. Many of these little guys have had a tough life. They've been neglected, abused, and just abandoned for whatever reason. The Humane Society receives litters of puppies and kittens, and some of them get adopted early, some of them don't. It's sad to say, but some of these animals actually grow up and spend their entire lives in a shelter. So the shelter can only hold so many animals, and they need to move the animals that they have because they have new animals coming in all the time. So please, please, please be part of the solution. Browse through the animals and click on the name of the animal. Once you find one that's perfect for you, an online adoption form will pop up. You fill that out. The staff works out all the details and works very hard to make it as easy as possible to transport your animal to your home. They will actually ship the animal to you. This is very cool. And this is another thing. If you're not looking for an animal yourself, but you would like to help out, you can come down to Cozumel, and on your way home, you can be a pet escort. It is so easy and fun and very rewarding. The Humane Society sets up everything. They bring the animal to the airport for you, do all the paperwork. You get on the plane, get to your final destination, you pass the animal off to its new forever family, and everybody is happy and smiles, and it is so, so cool. So think about doing that if you're coming down here on vacation. And also, we always take donations. Always need money to keep this place running and taking care of those animals. So check out the animals. You can make a donation. You can contact them about being an escort through the website. And on behalf of all the people at the shelter, we thank you so very, very much.
This is Lisa from Dallas, Texas, and you are listening to the Shark Tank on CozumelRadio.net.
Okay, enough of this tomfoolery. Let's get right to it. We did a survey on the scuba board and asked the two questions. Who's your dive op, and what do you look for when you're looking for a new dive op? And we decided to put together this little show here and maybe kind of help people out if you're looking for a new dive op. You've never been to Cozumel and you're looking for a dive op to begin with. Whatever, there are over 100 dive operations on Cozumel Island. And so you got a lot to choose from, that's for sure. There's some that have their own boats, some that don't even have their own boats, some like one-man operations that rent boats, which are actually very good dive ops, as well as some of the larger operations. So the range there is just amazing. And so where do you start? Where do you go? Well, first of all, of course, you're going to talk to your friends and, just people that dive, that come down to Cozumel, and find out who they dive with and where they stay and all that stuff. If you have a local dive shop, I know those are getting few and far between nowadays. But if you've got one, go there and find out where they go. Chances are they're coming to Cozumel. More than likely, they're bringing classes to Cozumel. You may have even been in a class that came down here to begin with. That's what you got you hooked to start off with. So that's a good jumping off place. And once again, the scuba board, as well as other social media. If you've never been to the scuba board, scubaboard.com. If you go to the regional forums and dive clubs, then go to Mexico and look for the subforum Cozumel, you will get more opinions on Cozumel than you can shake a stick at. So that's something to keep in mind. TripAdvisor, of course, like I said, is a great place, and there's other internet areas where you can do searches, as well as there's several other really good scuba forums on the internet, but Scuba Board is the one I use, and I've been on with them since it's 2004 or something like that. So I kind of promote them a little bit. So you go through all that, you look for that, and then first, I guess really first of all you need to do is determine what kind of diver you are. Are you a no frills diver, or do you like to be pampered? Some people just they're like me. Take me, put me on a tank on my back and throw me in the water, and I'm a happy camper. Other people want a little bit more. They want a little bit extra pampering while they're on the boat, which is perfectly fine. So you determine what kind of diver you are to begin with, and then three of the no-brainer things on the list, of course, are pricing, safety, and good customer service. Of course, you got to look. We're all budget-minded when we're on vacation, and I found just clicking through several dive ops in Cozumel, a basic 2-tank morning boat dive is going to cost you anywhere from $72 to $90. And from there, the prices usually start dropping if you dive multiple days with somebody, or if you do a hotel dive package, which is, of course, another consideration when you're looking at a dive op. Do you want your dive op on site, or does that really matter to you or not? And then safety, of course, is a huge factor with everything. Is safety is number one when it comes to diving, in my opinion. That's it's a fun sport, so it's just fantastic. But if you're not observing the safety rules, then you don't need to be in the water, period. But other than that, make sure the boat has all the safety equipment it needs. Make sure that your dive op does all the proper pre-dive profiles and obeys all the rules of the park, and make sure that everybody with you obeys the rules of the park. And we want to be able to come back and enjoy our beautiful reefs. So don't be hanging on them, please. And of course, good customer service, and that goes from before, during, and after your visit. One of our people on the scuba board said that his dive op always, for I don't know how many years he's been diving with him, but he always asked him at the end of his visit, how was your dives? What can we do better? And I just think that's fantastic. I think everybody should do that. And of course, when you're trying to get it set up, are they going to answer your emails? Do they give you a phone number when you get on the island? If you're not at if they're not at your hotel, do they give you a phone number, a good contact to get with them if you need to contact them while you're on the island? And then and the follow up is great too. I just think that's wonderful. And from there, we start getting into the nitty gritty of things. Flexible schedules for dives. Some people, that's very important to them. Some people want to sleep in. They don't want to get up and be on a 7:30 boat. And our boats down here leave anywhere from 7:30 to 9:30, depending on who you're diving with, for the first morning dives. And if you've got a private boat, you got a group coming down here, and you're hiring an entire boat, you can probably, depending on what the dive op needs that boat for that afternoon, you might be able to set your own schedule. So that's another consideration. If you're going to get together with your whole family or a bunch of buddies or something like that and come down for a group dive. And then a lot of boats also, or a lot of dive ops also offer a mid-morning dive, somewhere at 10:30, 11 o'clock. These usually cater to the cruise shippers and people coming over from the mainland. Gives them time to get off the boat and get over from the ferry. Most dive ops have afternoon dives, not all of them. And afternoon dives, I think, usually depend on how many people sign up. Is there enough people to fill a boat or justify going out? That's one thing. And then when it comes to night dives, down here in Cozumel, we have two different types of dives. We have the twilight dive, which is really kind of cool. You head out just as the sun's setting, you hit the water just at sunset, and it actually gets dark while you're underwater. And then, of course, a true night dive where you hit the water and into the black, as they say, which is pretty awesome. So, and then one of our dive ops brought up an excellent issue. How do they handle weather issues? I be quite honest with you, I'm in Cozumel most of the time when the weather is just fantastic. So I don't do a lot of diving down there in the wintertime. And so weather's never been a huge issue for me with my dive op, but make sure they have the proper insurance that they'll cover you, that give you a cover your dive days that you miss when you come back on another visit, or give you your money back or something. Check with them what their bad weather policy is before you sign up with them. And of course, then it's all your certification. I think almost everybody on Cozumel is PADI certified. There's also SSI, NAUI, and I don't know, 20 or 30 others, I think, nowadays. Who knows? But, that's a consideration, especially if you're thinking about getting, moving on with some of your certifications. So you want to make sure that your dive op is on board with whatever certification you have if you're trying to move up to advanced or, one of the other instructor things or something like that. So and another big consideration that I really hadn't thought about, because I like to just take care of my own equipment, but valet. Some dive ops will valet your equipment for you. They'll take it at the end of your dive and rinse it off and house it for you overnight and have it for you on the boat the next morning when you get ready to go. So if you like that, then check and see if that's going on with your dive op, as well as equipment rental. Make sure that if you do need to rent equipment, that it's in good working condition and it's not 100,000 years old, something like that. So a couple other things to think about. And then it comes down to the boat. It really didn't dawn on me how many different factors when it comes down to boats there are, but we can set you up down here with anything you want. We've got fast boats, slow boats, big boats, little boats. We got the full gambit. What most people call down here the fast boat is the 6-pack. It's a panga. It's a modified Mexican fishing boat that they use down here. They put a cover on it mostly, and they put on seats in there and places to put scuba tanks, and you got yourself a very fine scuba boat. They're just fantastic. And you strap a couple 150s or 300 Mercs on the back of that, and you're on the reef in a pretty quick little bit of time. And but if you want to be on the boat, and some of the things that people were talking about on the scuba board were the camaraderie on the boat. They didn't mind taking an hour to get out there, or an hour and a half to go out there, and just getting together and talking to people with and learning people where they're from and everything, which is a great idea. I get seasick, so so I try to get out there as fast as I can. That's why I'm on a 6-pack more than anything, because if if I can get out there and get underwater as fast as I can, I'm cool. But with dive ops, many dive ops, some of the larger dive ops offer all that, both pangas as well as the larger boats. Other dive ops have only the small boats, and some dive ops have mostly big boats, and either rent small boats if they need it or if they're requested, or if there's an overflow, they'll get them. So check with your dive op. That's another consideration. Make sure they got a good reputation, that their boats are in good working condition all the time. Make sure they got cover from the sun, especially going down in the summertime. You want to get out of that sun, get a little bit of shade. So it's not every dive boat has it. So it's another consideration. If you're on a big boat, might have a head, might not. It's another thing you might want to think about. And for those of you non-sailors, a head is the potty. So, but really only a big boat. A small boat, there's really no room for that. And again, whether your dive op has multiple boats or not is another consideration, because one day you may want to do the slow boat out there, and the next day you may want to get on a faster boat. So you may want a little bit of flexibility. Generally, most dive ops stick to 6 divers per dive master in a group, and they'll put like that many people on a panga, and that goes out by itself. And on a larger boat, they'll try to bring more than one dive op or dive master along, and they'll group people together and space them out on the reef the best they can. And that's another consideration, whether you want to be with a group of people. If you're going down with a group, sure you want to be. But if you want to have the chance of running into 20 other people on the reef, maybe small boats are the way you want to go there. So make sure your dive op groups by experience whenever possible. It's really important for you to have a really good dive. If you're a novice diver and you're thrown on a boat with a bunch of deep water fanatics, you're not going to have a good time. Or vice versa. If you're a deep water fanatic and you're thrown on a boat with a bunch of novices, you're not going to enjoy going to paradise for 2 dives. So it's just another consideration to check with before you get on the boat, or when you're checking out a dive op. Rinse buckets for masks and cameras. That was one of our big things on the survey. People really wanted that on their boats. Rinse bucket for a mask, I don't know. I just rinse it overboard. Once the boat stops moving, I reach overboard and rinse it off. That's how I do that. The camera, again, I use a compact underwater, and when I get done with the dive, I wrap it in a towel and put it back in my Pelican case. So, but some people want that on their boats. Whether or not your dive op provides towels and water and snacks, even jackets and rain gear and some type of cover up, those are the perks. That's when you start thinking about whether or not you're a no frills or a pampered diver. But if they do, that's great. Those are some extra perks that are really fine, especially in the wintertime. You get out of the water, and sure, it's 80 degrees underwater, and you're fine with your wetsuit on, but you get up and you do that SI, it's nice to have a jacket. So that's another consideration. Hola, Cosmolinos and Cosmolinettes. Sharky here. Hey, have you been to Bacanos at night yet? Well, if you haven't been there for a Friday or Saturday night dinner, you need to make a reservation as soon as possible. Bacanos fishermen bring in the very best catches of the day, like wahoo, tuna, and mahi-mahi, so the chefs there at Bacanos can turn them into delicious creations just for you. The menu depends on what's been caught that day, so you know it's going to be something special every single night. Hey, you're not a seafood lover? Well, they've got great grilled steaks, or the duck. Everyone raves about how good the duck there is at Bacanos. You can start off with a martini or a mojito and stroll through the property, which holds some amazing history of Cozumel. Bacanos sits right on the water in the northern hotel zones, just a few minute taxi ride from downtown. Open for dinner only on Friday and Saturday night. Reservations are not required, but if you have a large group, we do suggest that you contact them and let them know that you're coming. And now you can do that right on the Facebook page. Just go to Bacanos at night, give them a like, click on the book a table link, and they'll hook you right up. I highly suggest that you do not leave Cozumel without experiencing dinner at Bacanos.
This is Lisa from Dallas, Texas, and you are listening to the Shark Tank on CozumelRadio.net.
I mentioned water and snacks a minute ago, and oddly enough, snacks or food or getting food some sort of way was the number one thing on our survey, which was just kind of funny to me. Anyway, but most dive ops do have water on board. You've got to hydrate when you're on the boat. When you're scuba diving, you just have to get more water into you all the time. I pretty much have a bottle of water in my hand the whole time I'm sitting on the boat, or walking around at an SI. And and having snacks on the boat also help you hydrate. Most of the time on the boat they have fruit, and getting that fruit in you and having something like that to get the salt water off your face, not that taste out of your mouth, is really a major thing, I think, when it comes to doing an SI. And so it's another huge consideration to think of when you're picking out a dive out. And then, wow, we're getting down to the bottom of the list now. A little odds and ends that people talked about. Big tanks. I use 100 on my first dive, and really actually on both dives, even on the shallow dive, just because I don't have to adjust my BC strap every day, twice a day. It gets to be a hassle. So yeah, I've taken to paying an extra $5 for using a 500 steel, 100 steel 500. Ooh, wouldn't that be great? 500 steel on Paradise or Columbia shallows. You'd be there for a month. Oh, that'd be awesome. But I divers. Big tanks. 100 aluminums or 100 or 120 steels. Some dive ops offer it, others don't. The 100 steels actually seem to work better. The 100 aluminums, once they run out of air, they get very buoyant. And if you're not an expert with your buoyancy, that can lead to a little bit of issues. So that's another consideration. Letting people dive their limits. Some dive ops, because of time restraints, they got to get their boats back. They'll set their dives. We're going to do a 40-minute dive or a 45-minute dive on the first dive and a 40 dive on the second. And others, let you dive your limits. Use your computer. Be safe when you're doing that, for sure. And if you're staying in town, there's a bunch of really nice places to stay in town, and not all dive ops pick up at the in-town piers. You may have to take a taxi down south to Coletta or somewhere to get picked up. So it's a consideration to think about if you're thinking about staying in town. And on-time pickups, it's island time. You may be 5 minutes late, but generally, these guys, when they say they're coming, they're going to be there. So that's really, I've never had an issue standing around the dock wondering where people are at, ever. So that's not really that big. And long surface intervals was another big issue on the scuba board survey. A lot of people like to actually go to some of our day beaches and spend the time, actually have lunch, maybe 2 hour or so SI. Other people want to just go to Palancar Pier, hang out there for the minimal amount of time to get in your second dive and get back in the water. And that's fine, whichever you want to do. Dive ops do both, so check with them and see if you prefer that's the day. If you prefer to take a longer SI, that is more not the norm, I think. So if that's what you want to do, I'd check with the people you're thinking about going with and seeing if they do that or not. because I think the norm usually is to just go find a pier over there, a Palancar Pier or the old Sand Dollar Pier, and hang out for an hour or so, and just get back at it. So that I think that's the norm on the island. And of course, the boat staff itself, your dive masters and captains, are a huge factor in all of this. But until you dive with people, you really don't know if you're going to click with them personality-wise. They could be perfectly good, instructors or dive masters or captains, whatever. You just may not click with them. That could happen. Otherwise, but really, generally, all these guys are just wonderful people. I've never had any issues with any of them. I like diving with just about everybody I've ever dove with. The captains that I've dove with have just been exceptional. They're always there for you, and that's just always a good thing. One thing is some dive masters don't necessarily like to take their time going down the reef. They're just on a swim. So you might want, if you're the type me who really is slow paced, prefers to take their time, get their nose in the coral and see what you can find, you might want to check and make sure your dive ops or your dive masters do that. And we've really found that on the scuba board that a lot of people follow their dive masters once they get down here and they find some people that they like and they dive with them for a few years, and their dive op or the dive master moves on to a new dive op. They'll jump ship and go over to the other dive op. And so really the loyalty on Cozumel really lies with the dive masters in a lot of cases, and which is just a testament to the dive masters. Gives a testament to how well they take care of us underwater and keep us safe and bring us home and get us set up for Margaritaville. So so that's great. And one thing, make sure you're when it comes to the captains, if you're checking around, ask about the captains. Do they drop you off on the reef, or do you have to swim to get to your dive? Or do they pick you up as promptly as they can? Sometimes they're picking up other people. You're going to have to bob there for a little while, but if you're the first person to the surface, does he see you and does he get there? And most of the time, in almost every case that I've been with somebody, the answer is yes. So we've got a bunch of great boat captains out there. I give them all a tip of my hat. And those are all things that you might want to consider when it's coming to picking out a dive op when you're coming down to Cozumel. And as always, like I said, go to the scubaboard.com, look for Sharky60. You can always go to Facebook and go to the Shark Tank Radio Show and ask me any questions you want there. Send me an email at cozsharktank@att.net. Just send it to Sharky and ask me any questions you want. This is Sharky with the first attempt at doing a real live talk show on the Shark Tank. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be back. A couple things I'm thinking about doing is trying to get a hold of some of our dive masters, actually doing a dive master show, and we'll feature some dive masters. We of course want to do some topside stuff whenever we can. We'll try to get together with maybe some restaurateurs or some of the activities people, and we'll see how this all develops. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I really want to get this back to a music station and streaming live, and the Shark Tank back to whatever that was when we dropped off before. Until then, this is Sharky, CozumelRadio.net. This is the Shark Tank Radio Show. Adios, amigos.
Cozumel.